Well, yeah, they are, but I can't remember the last bird flu disaster we had, or the last flooding, although it seems to become very close to home, doesn't it? Natural disasters, they're few and far between. So I wrote this 2 weeks ago, and it's all gone wrong since then, so perhaps that's not the case. But my experience from all those other places I've worked and here as well is it's more like that, which is, can you read that? It's probably a bit small.
Yeah.
But things that I particularly withdraw of a key service by a supplier or contractor. I think that's one that always people, what's happening? Right, to give you an example, we've got man guarding on all our campuses. You see the security guards? You may not know what they're doing, but they've actually got a significant health and safety responsibility. They're your first aid responders, 24 hours a day. They're also your fire marshals, they're called the fire brigade, so they have a key responsibility for the safe operation. We're obliged by law to have these provisions. And if we lost that service and they weren't here, theoretically, we can't operate. We'd have to shut down until we could, obviously for a short period of time, but they may seem quite a small function, but in actual fact it's a very, very important function. Without them, if their supply went bust, they're their employer, and they left us, we'd have trouble. We've got medical emergencies. Well, I haven't talked about bird flu, but bird flu is one that was in the press a few years ago, which kind of didn't happen, did it? There is always potential for that. My colleague, then with a lovely hat on, suggested about IT. You're right, absolutely right, there is there. Lots of critical IT systems, including major computer virus and hacking attacks. We are plagued with viruses, if you speak to an IT. You know, the amount of bombard attacks we get from all around the world is amazing. Losing the IT, I wouldn't be able to do this with you today. But you can see, has anyone got any questions on any of those I've put up? It kind of expands a bit further than just the very basic of earthquakes, flood, fire.
Asbestos, that can be quite a lot when you...
Well, asbestos is, it's, yeah. You know, if there was asbestos found in here, this room's out of action for it. That's quite likely as well. Think about this building, it's a 60s building. It's highly likely, if I can see the asbestos stickers on it, no. It's undoubtedly asbestos in this building. All you need is a workman to come in. We've got management procedures for management of asbestos, they're very robust. But nonetheless, if someone wants to come in and start hammering into that wall, asbestos fibre release, we shut down. That's the difference, isn't it? The fire throughout using this whole building is just really insignificant. It's really not going to happen, most likely. What is going to happen is the workman's going to come and smash through an asbestos pan and then put it out for asbestos contamination. So that's the difference between sort of the practical, theory and the practice. Practice is that's what happens, not the fires. Any more questions on those? They're just my musings. There's others as well, but that's what I consider the sort of thing we do have to. The real things what we get.
What if the storm made the power go out? What if the storm made the power go out?
If we lost our mains power, we have no power. Yeah, well, what we've got in... We have got some, but they're not for... They are generally for IT support, to keep our servers going, because they don't like having their power taken off straight away. We've got two down at Medway, we've got two 500 kVA generators, so we've got more than most. More often than not, generators for life safety, like the fire alarm systems and fire detection systems, IT systems. So in terms of us being warm and lit, no, they're probably not going to be on. So you lose your power, you're out. It's unrealistic to have full generator support for everything as well. The cost of that infrastructure to have generator provision to run everything on a campus is big, versus the likelihood of it actually happening. I've yet to see that as a business. No one's presented the plan that I've seen that makes that stack up just yet. I mean, if you're Barclays Bank, JP Morgan, Deutsche, whoever you might be, and you're running billions of pounds of trade through your trading floors every day, absolutely, you have 10 generators, and you have generators to back up the generators, and UPS and everything, because their business continuity plan fed in from their, from the various departments. They know how much money they make. We don't make money, we teach. It's all about pound, shilling and pence at the end. If your operations earn you millions of pounds a day, you will put the money into supporting your business. It's just, it's a sliding scale of economies really, what you can and can't afford.
We do things like bringing diverse routes for power supplies into the building.
Yeah.
Or gas supplies.
Yes, that is when you design them where possible. Obviously, if you've got them, you kind of hamstrung until you've got what you've got. And there definitely is some areas at risk, and I can think that Medway we've got areas that we're not happy with. But then again, the cost, as it's not happened, you've got to weigh up the likelihood versus severity. Yes, it would be severe, and then also the cost of implementing it. So it's always that balance, likelihood, severity, and cost. Because you can back up everything if you've got the money in and the will to do so, but you may not wish to do it all. I've kind of lost my... It's good that everyone's asking questions now, it's maybe lost my plot where I am. Hold on a second. Yeah, so I've kind of started talking about this, haven't we, just now? Here's an interesting one down here. Scientific experiment goes wrong. Down at Medway, we've got science and engineering. This is less on this campus, but down there, we've got a lot of labs, got a lot of chemicals, got a lot of experimentation going on. And most of it is pretty safe. Some of it's a bit, we take it pushes boundaries. In fact, we've had, I think for about 8 years ago, there was it was considered a cyanide leak at Medway through ventilation systems. So there was a full evac. Fire brigade would go in, of course, because of cyanide. As it happens, it wasn't cyanide, but they thought it was. So you need a plan. You need to have a contingency plan for something like that. Yeah, this is kind of a bit of a reiteration I'll put on the other slide. External incidents, if you just touch on that last one before I go to the next slide. The lifeline of the Medway area, which you don't go to because perhaps you don't know it, is the Medway Tunnel. It was just off the picture you saw. Other than that, we're on a peninsula of land, and to get to it is going all the way through the Medway town. So this tunnel basically put the lifeblood into the whole redevelopment of the old Chatham Maritime area. Without that tunnel, we'd be stuffed, transportation-wise. So it's an external, completely external to us. We'd have no bearing on it whatsoever. It happened over there. Oh my goodness, how do we operate now? It's going to make a significant impact to what we do. So that's just an example of something completely outside of your remit, which have an adverse effect on your business. The other thing, of course, is that it's not just, don't run 52 weeks a year. There is timing makes a difference. So we've looked at everything, but let's look at when it happens. So exams, I'd now say it's pretty critical. When you guys come and sit your exams, it's a very tense time for everyone, very critical. You go in there, your buildings are warm, lit, and suitable for your use. Also, when we have important external visitors or events we host, we do host quite a lot. Your general teaching, like today, I would say was pretty much business as usual, so I'd class that as a normal scenario. Some holidays, you're all not here. We use the campus for other events, but perhaps we might wish to lower the criticality down to low. And the last one, weddings. We host weddings at Medway, so we've got a very nice building that they seem to like. And I'd say it's normal, but I'd say it's critical. But
you get a student discount.
Do we get married? Ask, you never know. You never know. Right, I'll talk to you from my point of view of experience in facilities management in business continuity. So, if you just try to think what I've spoken about, is it an FMO function? I won't make anyone shout out. Can you put your hands up if you think it is? Hands up if you think it isn't. Well, bloody hell, we've got a lot of abstainers. Come on, I'll try again. Right, really, I'll put your hand up if it is an FM function. Okay? Put your hands up if it isn't. Yeah, still a few, but in my opinion, no, it's not. We are, however, as it says, like to play a significant role in the recovery of the physical infrastructure in the event of an incident. But the faculty's offices have an equally important role to provide good information to the BCP and fully participate in its implementation. We are but one strain. If you remember, I talked back to the assessment, the impact assessment, that is informed by the schools. We deliver the physical infrastructure to help them get back on their feet, but we can't do that without their information, without their input, without them communicating with us. So it's very much a joined up thing. So in summary, I think that a BCP should be a flexible and simple to use, simple to use, providing persons using it with correct, up-to-date, valid, business-informed information to assist with the classification and management of the event, communication with stakeholders, and inform which services infrastructure to recover to an agreed sequence. You could probably do a full stop in there somewhere, but when I thought about it, that's what I think it is in a nutshell. And you could disagree with that, but that's my opinion from my experience. Any comments on that? Oh, Ms. Gordon.
I've got a question relative to communication, because you've talked about the potential for incidents, the planning, you've talked about the rating of incidents. You've just gone on to say it's not all your responsibility, and obviously it's going to vary between the different incidents, but who determines who communicates with whom? And obviously that's going to differ if it's this lecture theatre that disappears, it's this group of people. If somebody's got to move venues because something else is more important, how do you communicate and who communicates?
There is, under the Medway Incident Plan, which I may be able to give you a copy with personal information removed if you want, Christine, if you wanted to put it on there as well. There is a hierarchy of responsible persons. There is an incident controller, although I can't think of the correct title. There is a senior person who will make the call. I'm not that senior person. I sit to the left-hand side or the right-hand side of it. And depending on the incident, we report on what areas are affected, and then going back through our impact plan from individual schools, we know what schools use what areas, or what offices use what areas, and then that will inform the communication line thereafter. There's also up communication, as you saw from levels 1, 2 and 3. 1 doesn't really go up, 2 does a bit, and 3 goes right to the very top. And the Vice Chancellor would be managing that sort of scenario. So there is as an incident happens, it's a local incident, it's then defined into what categorisation. You look at what the impact's been, look at the Medway Incident Plan, from that plan, who's been affected by the areas at loss. That will then inform the communication plan.
So if this lecture theatre suddenly goes out of action at 3:30 on a Thursday, who tells these guys?
It will come.
Security man out there?
No, that should come by the schools. Communication students will come by schools. This is an interesting one because it's not a dedicated suite. At Medway, we're a bit unusual because we're science and engineering. Most of our space is not generic. It is used for a specific function. It is a laboratory for microbiological lab or it's an engineering workshop. So a particular school uses a particular space rather than this kind of syndicated space like this. We do have lecture theatres like this, but this one would affect every school. So it's not owned by a school, but they're used by every school. So that communication would go out via the school to the students. Is that answer your question?
Who manages, in real terms, someone like Lauren emails all these guys because they get a mass email to all students. Who stands out there? Security, you, me, stopping them coming in?
It would be you, Christine.
Sure.
No, it would be probably security. It's all hands to the pump in that sort of scenario, because FM can lay their hands on a number of stuff. You remember earlier on I said I've got 60 indirect staff. Well, the majority of them are security, cleaning and such like. I'm not really worried about clean toilets when we've got disasters on, quite frankly, so we may reappropriate some of those staff to assist us on things like redirection and communication. You've got to think on your feet. You use what limited resources you've got, and it would be using the people like that to help us. The poultry team, for instance, that would also be another example of the sort of people we could put in at quick notice to help with communications.
There is a theory that you use the first students that arrive to dissipate.
Yeah,
Arrives first, yes.
You could do that. When all the rest of them aren't available, perhaps we try that. Right. Can I move on. Nearly there. Right, the last part. Computer-aided facilities management, building information modelling and building management system in the context of business continuity. Well, I've just said them, that's what they are, that's what acronyms stand for. Does anyone not know what they are? I assume you do. Yeah? If they know, if you don't, I'll tell you. Okay, I assume you do. So what we use here, computer-aided facilities management, University of Greenwich, we use two systems, stupidly. We should be using one, but we currently use two. Quantark, a system called Quimis, and the manufacturer of Quantark is used at Avery Hill. And Shire's Frontline is what we use down at Medway in Greenwich. BIM, we don't use it yet. I'm sure BIM's, you learned about BIM or if you know already. Fairly new development. As it stands, we haven't retrospectively applied BIM to any old buildings, obviously. As it sort of manifests itself and grows from what it is at the moment, it's generally towards new build. There is perceived benefits to reverse it and reverse engineer against existing buildings, but I suggest we're probably going to go, or the industry is going to go forward with delivering it on new build developments rather than reverting it back to old buildings just yet. But I say we don't use it, but down at Stockwood Street, we mentioned before, that's a building under construction at the moment. They're using e-documents, which is, I'll put BIM Lite, which it kind of is. It's an online data storage system. It can be rapidly searched, delivering accurate results, multiple views of the building data instantly available. So again, I'm talking this in business continuity context. It does give some ability to be able to, in a disaster situation, go and grab good data, good helpful data to help you manage your situation. You know, to actually get floor space areas, occupancy spaces, that sort of thing. So it isn't BIM, but it's BIM-esque, I think is the best way of putting it. And BMS, Building Management System, or Management System, sorry. All buildings have them, every building, all campuses, we've all got Trend BMS, which gives us, highlighted accurate HVAC control whilst giving real-time management information. So what it could do in event of a scenario that we've got, if you had a dirty bomb, for instance, you know, with airborne particulates, we have limited ability to actually shut down ventilation systems immediately if that situation arises. Not that that's, you know, it's a possibility rather than fact I'm sure that actually ever happened, but we do have the ability to control instantaneously AC systems or ventilation systems on all campuses from any location, so I could do Greenwich from Medway and vice versa. So they're the three, CAF and BIM and BMS, how we currently use them at the moment. Oh, just also on the BMS, we have a critical page deck. That's just a screenshot of what we use down at Medway. So they're our main plant items: central boilers, chillers. I've got the generator 1, 2, compressed air, and other boilers. They're our key items. If they're running, you know, if some of them aren't running, we've got a problem in some way. It enables us to instantaneously look at them in any situation and see how they're performing. That's not replicated on the other campuses just yet. That will happen in due time. So currently only BIM and CAF are partially used on existing BCP. So I was wondering, if someone could answer me please, how you think that some of these electronic tools can assist us in achieving up the gold standard. We deliver business continuity to an acceptable level, and I would suggest probably to the ISO level, but equally we don't deliver it, so I suggest, you know, to how I mentioned was it the Financial Services Authority or some of the major banks do. That's probably what I'm talking about, gold standard. What do you think those functions, CAF and BMS, might be able to help us with, if at all?
Simulate disasters.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea actually. Yes, you're quite right. Yeah, that's feasible. Anyone else?
You mentioned the availability of information, so you're able to get the information you need as soon as possible.
Yeah. I think if you looked at if you could put up CAD drawings in straight away, you know, you've lost half a bill, you know the room reference numbers, what we do. we can just look at the size of those. 'Cause it's not just, every room's not square, every rooms are sort of funny shapes, aren't they? When you can just put off real-time information very quickly. All that's, yeah, okay, yes, absolutely. Anyone else? Any other thoughts about how that could assist us?
Your BMS system can have sort of programmed ways of dealing with anything breaking down.
Yeah? Or, I like the idea of a big off button. Yeah, exactly, think about it. Going back to the FSA, actually, and this is true, because it was a hermetically sealed building, so full ventilated. There's no openable windows. And in the post room, because of what they did, they were a potential threat, terrorist threat, target, sorry, I should say, not threat. The whole of the air conditioning in the post room had a off, because if someone did that and there was a powder bomb in there, a dirty bomb, could be asbestos, could be any chemical, you just kill it and the whole thing shuts down. That's a physical button, but also it's replicated with an on-screen off button like that. So that was used, that was set up. So you're quite right, you can control things. But in terms of disaster recovery, the first thing you want to do, well, recovery is recovery. I'm talking about, I suppose, responding to the incident as it happens is an off. What you're saying is correct, you can use it to control as you recover. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's basically saying your power will go down, like I said earlier, your BMS system will then kick in and bring your emergency generator.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, completely correct, yes. Yeah. There's some possible benefits I'll put down there. You said the first one. Readable AutoCAD drawing information to locate sources of problem, to assist in relocation prioritisation. You could incorporate 3D modelling, particularly with the BIM scenario. An update to data file information further facilitating BCP, possibly. I'm not convinced that would be an element just yet, but that's probably because it's not been developed far enough yet and we don't particularly use it, but that will come out in due course, I suppose. Right, I will read this actually. There is significant selling of CAFA and BMS and other online electronic solutions, often as a saviour to all potential management challenges, such as business continuity planning. Will online electronic tools operate in the event of an IT systems failure, web failure, loss of mobile network, a loss of power? So these all require computer and power and network, don't they? Take away one of those three, they don't work, which is sometimes why you've got to revert back to the old school, I think. Or at least have consideration about how you can do without those things. Plan for physical printed documentation, pen and paper and handheld radios, etc. At each campus we've got this thing called a grab bag. This now reverts back to the old school. It is a bag that you grab. And in there we've got all our campus plans laid out. We've got our incident plan. We've got torches, batteries, high-vis, a radio, as in a tuning radio, mobile phones, although that, we don't know if the mobile network will be running, but not to rely on our network phones. So it's like an old school version of responding. In case all the wizardry stops working, we can pick up and quill and parchment, if you see what I mean. So BCP will be used in a situation when emotions are high and pressure to perform is severe. So processes, procedures and documentation must be simple and easy to understand and use. Does that apply to CAFM, BIM and BMS, which by their very nature are technical and complicated? I've a couple of times actually had to implement a business continuity plan in a real life situation. And quite frankly, it's terrifying, right? Something's gone horribly wrong. Here's a fire or a flood. People are panicking. Now, if you've got the most technical plan that's that thick, you've got everyone beep, 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 in your ear holes. It's chaos, basically. It needs to be simple. Keep it simple, stupid, my dad used to say to me, and I'm sure he's right. Because it needs to be usable. It has to be pick up, understand, implement. So does that make sense? Whilst I've asked for a lot of information within it, it needs to be very addressable, very simple, very easy to use, and consider pressure on that. You might have emergency services coming down. They might put a cordon around, an exclusion cordon. You've got the Vice Chancellor asking you what's going on. You've got students running around because all their digs have blown up. They're not there anymore. They want to know where they're going. It's stressful. So do think you've got to basically take away as many barriers as you possibly can to make it as usable as it possibly can be. And I do think about, referring back to Catherine Biffle of BMS, it might just overcomplicate matters. If you can do it with a pen and paper that you can take with you and walk around, that's all the better for it.
You follow PD 25111 standards for personnel.
Sorry,
PD 25111.
you've got me up there, I don't know that standard, please. What is it?
It's what, how do you deal with the people element after a critical situation occurs?
We do, I don't. That's, no, I mentioned, that would be perhaps Office of Student Affairs, I suggest, would be looking at that. I am talking to you from an FM perspective, and I'm really talking about buildings. Okay? Well, you're absolutely right. And I'm sure that we do, but I'm not so much hearts and minds, I'm more and people. I'm more about the return of the environment that people can occupy. Does that make sense? I mean, I haven't answered your question, but I've explained why I haven't answered your question. Right, that's it really. So just in summary, I've outlined my career, my experiences in facilities management and how that applies to my thoughts about business continuity. I hope you understand the size and the complexity and the limitation challenges of the university estate to the plan that we have to deliver to. We've outlined the principles of the University Business Continuity Plan and its approach and its application. We've talked about and considered how the modern solutions, Catherine BMS or otherwise, may actually assist or perhaps not assist organisations in their business continuity planning. So, in conclusion, any questions?
Are you guys actually accredited for ISO 22301?
No. We are working towards it, but it's not yet, no. You don't have to be, but it's a target to get to. We've got various other accreditations, ISO 14000 management, but we are not accredited to that yet. Although I'm fairly comfortable that our plan wouldn't be far off, if not exceeding that anyway. Anybody else at all? So,
you know you've got like film productions of a Greenwich Maritime site.
did you say film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is that your responsibility to work alongside them, or who does that fall under?
In at Greenwich, we probably talking about like feature films they do.
Yeah,
there's loads, isn't there? That is done. Sorry.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Or
That is done by the Greenwich Foundation, because we are tenants at that campus and we occupy the buildings which we're in, not so much the estate. We have full use over it, but if you know, it's public access, isn't it? So they are led by the Greenwich Foundation, but in consultation with us, but we're kind of the secondary partner to it. So there is an involvement, but it is a secondary involvement.
okay. Cool.
Anyone else?
You had I can't remember what it was like a table in the booklet, it was supposed to show what the building was,
Yeah.
how it was affected, I can't remember, it was like incident or something, I can't remember what the site was, but is that in essence like a risk register?
Yeah.
For yourselves?
Yeah. Because you can't define, I think if you can get away from the notion you can't define everything, because the plan's now that big, it's just a set of guidance documents to help you when the problem occurs. You can't define everything, so what you do is what they've done, they've given it a classification, so that's one, that if it's passed as, whatever's happened is we pass as that, that's what we do. But we look at the plan, and all the schools and offices have informed us what they need to run, what they need to be able to keep their business going. So that helps us to, we now can understand what is needed. It isn't everything, if let's say their full operation is 100%, most schools and offices will probably, if really push comes to shove, shrink down to 20% of operation. But that 20% is the critical part, and that's the bit we look at recovering first. So once we deliver that 20%, that will get them off their knees and back to some semblance of operation, and then the other 80% will follow on afterwards. But it's 20% of that school, 20% of that school, 20% of that office. You've got to kind of deliver all them, depending on the scenario. But that information they've given you informs you what is the most important. If you remember back to when I think, was it testing I said, is the plan appropriate? Does it actually work? You come up with the best plan in the world, because you need to go, done it, and there's the well, it doesn't. Not doing what we want it to do. We can't operate yet. That's why you've got to keep testing it. Does it? Yeah. Anyone else at all?
If, for instance, on Stockport Street,
Yeah.
if you got to September and it wasn't ready, and
Always getting tight as well,
it
isn't
wasn't
it?
ready for occupation, what would that be conversation between the contractor and the client, University Bridge, or would that be in terms of facilities management? Would that not be involved in it? Because in effect, the student would be allowed to get in there.
No, we're fortunate to a degree because we're leaving here, which is ours. So we've always got the fallback that if it's not ready, we stay. Which is clearly not what anyone wants to do, because they want to move the start of an academic term, which is in there for September for the start of the next term. Obviously, it's getting tight. I don't have a person involved in that, but a lot of my colleagues do, so I'm quite aware of what's going on. It's, the completion date isn't the occupation date. We have a period of time where we fit it out, move staff in, obviously going first. But that time, it's obviously getting stronger. The longer they might not deliver, the less time you have. But if it comes to, there is a point where you say it might not happen. If we were recruiting, expecting the space, and not having an alternative, so that's almost going back to what the gentleman said about it's more business risk. That is, and it is on the business risk register. I think, I'm sure it is. It's not delivered in time, and there will be a contingency plan. See, it's the difference between business continuity planning and business risk are actually two different things. Anyone else? No? Right, I think that'll do then. Thank you. You still wait, Kristen? Is that it?